Welcome to another Nutnfancy philosophy video. I have a lot of videos out there. I spend a lot of time on the gear review, knives, guns, tactical gear, stuff that I think will fit into your systems and serve your good purpose as well. I spend a lot of energy on it. Occasionally I will disengage from the gear show and do what I call a life philosophy video. Foundational concepts which I want to be part of my body of work here in the Nutnfancy project. First and foremost, I can't do these without you. And I know a lot of you out there across the world love these philosophy videos. I've heard from you, I've talked to you, I've seen your comments, and I would like to thank you for your enthusiasm for those, or I should say these types of videos, and more importantly for your friendship to me and my family and my crew members that help make TMP a reality. Thanks for subscribing to the project, for the views on the videos, making it all worthwhile. Much appreciated, and I feel it right here, no lie. That being said, this video probably isn't really for you. We have a lot of differences, no doubt, in the Nutnfancy project. We are a community, a small one, but on some major issues we pretty much see eye to eye. The preparedness issues, the family issues, the protection of that which is good, the sheepdog concept, all those things I think most of us agree with. We may have some variances on gear and stuff like that, but the big stuff we pretty much agree on, I think. I think this video is going to be meant for your friends, your family, or whoever else you meet that doesn't quite get why you do the things you do. And I've got this too in the Nutnfancy project. I mean, it's very rare now because TMP is so self-policing now. And I'm working a cold too, so bear with me if I'm blowing my nose, drinking water, whatever, hacking. I'm just going to try to plow through this. But I had the sentiment arise at times in the Nutnfancy project. People would roll in and maybe they don't know anything about TMP. They click on a video, they see me in multicam and tactical gear running and gunning, and they'll say something along the lines of, why are you doing that? What are you preparing for? Why are you shooting humanoid targets? You know, are you planning on killing people? You know, what are you doing? And maybe your friends tell you this as well. This video is for them. And I hope they've sent you to this video and you're watching at this point. Because I'm going to explain why we do the things we do as best I can. And this is my own take on life. It's where I am at this point in my life experiences. And I think it's well reasoned. And it's grounded in reality. It's not paranoia. It is reality. Welcome to the Nutnfancy philosophy video called Fear No Evil. A lot of people actually in life will dispute that there is evil. They will not acknowledge evil's existence. And I'm going to break this out into three major parts of the video. I'm going to talk about rule of law situations, without rule of law situations, and I'm also going to talk about government tyranny. This is a serious video, and I'm going to do the best I can addressing the realities of evil and why a free person might need to make preparations. But a lot of people won't acknowledge it. They'll say there is no evil, and if there is evil, you probably did something to bring it upon yourself. Okay, so they actually side with the criminal and not the victim. Have we seen that in the political correctness trends in society? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The victim is to blame, not the criminal. And it can go to macro issues too. You know, the terrorism issue as it's been waged against the United States. People say, well, you guys brought this upon yourself. Oh really? Tell that to, you know, the surviving family members that died in the Twin Towers. I don't agree with that. Some people don't. No matter what you say to them, they will never acknowledge the existence of true evil. And I'm going to break those types of people, oh actually the audience of this, in probably three basic groups. I could be wrong on this, but this is how I see it now. You have people so entrenched in that philosophy, usually the protectionists, as I've called them before, they will not move from there. They are solidly convinced that you don't need any type of self-defense mechanism. I'm talking like armaments of any kind. and there is no evil. If there was, the police will handle it. And no matter what you say, you will not convince them otherwise. Then you might have some fence sitters. You know, people on the fence, they can actually be swayed by good logic. And they'll go, oh, well, that makes sense. Or more importantly, this is very important to know, by their own life experiences, which wakes them up. And they open their eyes. And now they see things the way they really are. They've been yanked out of that pink and blue padded nursery where they've lived all their lives and it's complete artificiality. Now they know. And then the third group is probably like you and I. We kind of already knew it, and we don't need any convincing. You're just preaching to the choir. Those are the three groups. Okay, but a lot of folks will not acknowledge it evil. Let's talk about motivations first off in evil. And I want to start off with rule of law situations. Society is functioning. We have a government that is functioning. We have emergency services which are functioning, both medical and police services. Functioning. Awesome. All that's great. And I'm going to start off with a story, I guess, so as I launch into motivations, and this is a true story. It happened to me. I was in Spokane, Washington, years around 1998, I believe. Downtown Spokane, I come out of the REI store, broad daylight. And I'm going to my car, and I'd already seen two guys across the street, which seemed very suspicious to me. I was watching them. Wasn't paranoid, just kind of watching them. Condition yellow. They didn't look right. Okay? One looked drunk. I can make that out immediately. I go to my car, getting in, minding my own business. I look in the reflection. These two guys are approaching me at rapid pace. Okay? Quick thought goes through my head. Can I make the inside of the car and just get the heck out of there? Which is always job one, is the way I approach life. Avoid conflict. Nope, that's not going to happen. They're on me before I know it. Not onto me, but they're approaching me. One guy comes up behind me. Okay? Another dude goes around the other side of the car. Why would he go around the other side of the car? Unless he has a weapon of some kind and he's covering the back. Huh. I turn to face this guy. Can't get in my car, can't escape. And he walks up to me. He gets right in my face. He's about 3 feet away. And he goes, hey man, what do you say you give us some money today? Something along those lines. Fortunately, I kind of saw this situation developing. This is really important. Kind of watch what's going on. And I had a Glock 19 in a fanny pack with 124 grain plus peas on me that day, extra mag. I had my winter coat open. The fanny pack was under the winter coat. And by that time, I had my hand on the grip of the gun, of the pistol. And I was very professional. I was very cool. I wasn't angry. I didn't jump anything. I'm always trying to de-escalate, talk myself out of it. And I say, I'm sorry, I just don't got any money for you today. And then I did this. I looked down to the Glock so he would look down at the Glock, and he did just that. And by the way, his buddy's over my left shoulder right here. Okay? Looks down at the Glock. He looks up and he goes, have a nice day, sir. He walked away. His buddy went with him. No shots fired. Okay? What was their intent that day? Well, get money. And by the way, when the guy approached me, his face was all busted up, looked like he'd been in a fight. That was the drunk guy, and his buddy's behind him. And I looked at his buddy, and he's like, real serious. Bad vibes with these guys. What was their motivation? Who knows? Who knows? The mere fact that they come up, and I got the vibe that violence was going to ensue. I wasn't positive. I don't know. But the mere fact that they're squaring off with me, gave me a bad feeling. There's lots and lots of situations where it goes just like that, but it turns out a lot worse because the person is unarmed. And the people who are accosting that individual know that, and something bad goes down, and guess who loses? The victim. Okay, and sometimes, and in many cases, the victim dies. There's lots of robberies every year, have been for decades, where the robbery takes place, they give the item what they wanted, and I'm talking rule of law situations here, and the person is still killed. Why? Because they don't want to witness. I don't want to leave a witness. You're dying today. Drugstore robberies, 7-Elevens, liquor stores, that happens all the time. Let's talk about motivations again. Why did the guy do it? Well, he had a bad childhood. His mom spanked him too much. His daddy left him. He was abused. All of those things which are bad, I'm not saying spanking, but, the abuse part, those are bad. Let me tell you, life is full of injustice. Any one of us can make a case why we can be unsuccessful and become a criminal. Hey, this didn't go right for me. I guess I'll become a criminal and start victimizing other people to make the world right in my eyes. Who cares what the motivations are? Doesn't change the fact that this guy just killed you. He killed your wife. He killed your children. Who cares what his motivations are? Who cares where it came from? The fact is, the actions which he is perpetrating upon you or attempting to do so are evil. They're flat out evil. And I'm going to be time crunched as usual, probably. Let me give you a story. I'll give you a couple. There's your first story. Here comes another one. And I was thinking, I need to find a story that really represents this mentality. I don't know what snaps in people's minds, or how they crossed the line from being a normal citizen to being a predator of society, a wolf. What snaps in people's minds? You guys have you ever heard of the Hi-Fi murders in Ogden, Utah, back in April of 1974? Let me give you a little clue on what went down in that Hi-Fi shop back in 1974. Okay, and I'm going to read this to you. I printed this off Wikipedia. Fortunately, there's an awesome article there. It gives all the details. These 5 guys, I'll make sure, I forget how many guys walked in. Pierre, Andrews, Roberts, and 3 other men drove to the Hi-Fi store on Washington Boulevard in Ogden in 2 vans just before closing time. 3 of the group then entered the shop brandishing handguns while Roberts and the other men remained in the vehicles. It goes on some other details. What they did is they proceeded to herd these people. After they robbed, they proceeded to herd these people into the basement and murder them. I quote, "With 5 people now in the basement, Pierre told Andrews to get something out of their van. Andrews returned with a bottle in a brown paper bag, and he poured out a cup of blue liquid. Pierre ordered Orrin to administer the liquid to the other hostages, but he refused. Orrin was one of the victims." Let me jump towards the crux of it. Pierre and Andrews then propped each of the victims into sitting positions and forced them to drink the liquid, telling them it was vodka laced with sleeping pills. Rather, it was liquid Drano. The moment it touched the hostages' lips, enormous blisters rose, and it began to burn their tongues and throats and peel away the flesh from their mouths. There's no evil in the world, right? Ansley, still begging for her life, was forced to drink the drain cleaner too, although she was reported to have coughed less. They duct taped the hostages' mouths shut to hold the quantities of drain cleaner in and silence their screams, with pus oozing from the blisters, which prevented the adhesive from sticking. This just infuriates me to read this. Orrin Walker was the last to be given the drain cleaner, but seeing what was happening to the other hostages, he allowed it to pour out of his mouth and faked the convulsions. Pierre, who was probably the ringleader of these guys, became angry because the deaths were taking too long. They were too loud and messy, so he shot both Carol and Courtney in the backs of their heads. Pierre then shot Orrin Walker, then missed. Then he fatally shot Stanley before shooting at Orrin again, this time grazing the back of his head. Pierre then took Ansley, who I believe at the time was 19 years old. 19-year-old girl, yeah, Michelle Ansley. She took Ansley to the far corner of the basement, forced her at gunpoint to remove her clothes, then repeatedly and brutally raped her. No evil, right? After telling Andrews to clear out for 30 minutes. When he was done, he allowed her... Oh, he says some other stuff I don't want to say. He threw her on her face and fatally shot her in the back of the head. Hi-Fi murders, 1974 in Ogden. Brutal. Brutal. Why did they do that? Why didn't they just rob the store and leave? Don't know. We get back to the motivational factor. Does it really matter? Does it matter to the victims who died and were tortured with Drano? Oh, and I didn't read the part. Later on, he shoves a pin in the guy's ear to kill him. So Drano, shoving pins in the people's ears, shooting them. There is evil in this world, even in rule of law. And the police force cannot prevent it from happening to you personally. It just doesn't work that way. The phone is your best defense, right, to those people. They go, well, I'll just call the police and they'll come save me. No, they won't. They won't be there in time. You'll be dead. I don't care what the motivations are. How do you answer the situations? I'm talking not to my TNP audience. I'm talking to the pacifists, the protectionists that may watch this. How do you answer that situation? Let me bring it in a more personal, setting for you. You're at the house. For whatever reason, you're hanging out with your family. Let's say you are a man, you're married to your wife, you have 2 kids. Someone knocks at your door, you answer it, they force themselves in for whatever reason, and they proceed to beat on your family, your wife and your kids, right in front of you. How do you feel? How are you going to answer it? First off, let me throw this out to you. You are the head of the family, right? Don't you think it's your job to protect your wife and your children from that type of thing? Yeah. Unless you're not, I'm serious about this, a human being, you want to defend your family. You will not sit there and let them get beat in front of you. How are you going to answer it? Well, since you're a protectionist, you probably don't have a gun in the house. I pose this question to other people along this line of thought, and people who are anti-self-defense folks, and I go, how are you going to defend it? And I put them in that situation. I was like, what are you going to do? And they'll go, well, I'll get my baseball bat. Now I got them. As soon as they say that, I got them. Logically, I got them. I'm like, okay, wait. First off, I know you don't have the baseball bat ready, but let's assume you do. Let's say by some miracle you're able to get that baseball bat, which, by the way, can be taken from you and used against you. Remember, these are 2 guys, we're saying in this situation. They'll kill you with your own baseball bat. But let's say none of that happens. You're a home run hitter with that baseball bat. You get it. Now you're saying you're going to use it against these people. Is that correct? Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, what are you going to do with it? Well, I'm going to bash their heads in with it. So you're going to murder them with blunt force trauma. You're going to knock the brains out of their skull. And then when I say that, they kind of go, yeah. Okay, so you admitted that in certain situations, when evil, flat out evil, is presented to you in a very personal way and it puts your own family at risk, that you are willing to kill another human being. Is that what you're saying? And now I got them. They don't know what to say because it flies in the face of everything that they politically stand for. And they go, some will bail out at that point, logically, and they go, well, that's not what I'm saying. Or some will be more honest, intellectually honest, and go, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I would do. And I'm like, okay. Then why not have a gun in the house? Okay? And then we can go on to all kinds of branches of that subject. Well, I don't know how to use a gun, which, okay. Or I don't believe in guns, which is stupid. You just said you'd bash some guy's brain out with a baseball bat and you don't believe in a gun? Okay? It's up to you how you answer that situation. If you were to answer, again, I want intellectual honesty here from you. Again, not to TNPers, but other protectionists that watch this video. Be intellectually honest. If you say, no matter what, I will never take the life of another human being, and I do it on the grounds because I just cannot kill someone, even if it means if I sit down and watch my own family being tortured, just like you saw in the hi-fi shop, right? Brutally tortured, and then subsequently murdered. I can watch that and I still cannot bring myself to take another human life. If they do that on the grounds of they just cannot kill and they're honest about it, then in some ways I can respect it. I go, okay, kind of respect it. But the flip side of that coin is you would sit and watch another human being suffer to that point when you could intervene and save lives? It's a complex subject, isn't it? How do you respond when evil is faced with you? I'm talking big stuff. I'm talking life on the line, torture. Again, who cares what the motivations are? Hey, these poor people don't have money and they just wanted money. Yeah, but why they wanted money? They came in and they killed your entire family. Here we go with this story. Check this out. Remember the situation I gave you? It happened September 2009, small town in Illinois. Family of 5 murdered in their own homes. Rick and Ruth Gee, hope I'm saying your name right. Just brutal. They were murdered in their house. Blunt force trauma, beat to death. Husband, wife, 3 children. I don't know if they ever caught the guys. Maybe they have, but they found them dead, a whole entire family. Is it right that those good people died? Who cares what the reason is? No, it's not. The fact is, in rule of law, there's going to be evil presented to a small percentage of us. Thank heavens it's a small percentage. Now, those of a preparedness mindset, first and foremost, recognize the existence of this evil. That it does exist out there. That there are people willing to do brutal and just bad things to other people. We try to avoid situations where we would find ourselves confronted with these people. You know, when I came out of that store REI, I wasn't going, hey man, I have a gun. That's so cool if I could get into a confrontation and use this gun. A lot of you guys think that, you protectionists. You actually think when someone's armed up and they're prepared that they go out in the street and they're looking for confrontation, right? You couldn't be more wrong. And the reason you're so wrong is you're so disconnected from the realities of life. That couldn't be further from the truth. Not to say there isn't a very small percentage of people doing that. They're just very well may be. But the huge majority of us sheepdogs out there don't do that at all. We go about our daily lives. We're husbands. We're fathers. We're responsible young adults. We're college students. We're wives. We're mothers. We're just like you. The only difference is we acknowledge the existence of evil and that how it can intervene with no notice in our lives and turn our lives upside down so fast that you don't have any other chance but to respond in a very decisive manner. So we go about prepared, not looking for confrontation, but ready if it happens. And that's in rule of law. That's with the police force operating. That's with emergency services, ROL, all of that stuff. And none of that can protect you even in rule of law. How are you going to respond to it? Think about it. Do you have a family you love? Do you have a girlfriend you love? Do you have a daughter you love? A son that you love? A dog that you love? How would you like it if someone came in and brutally murdered your dog right in front of you? I throw these hard questions out because I want you to think. I want you to snap out of that haze in which you go through life, denying the existence of these things that they will ever happen. Now, are they, again, small percentage? Yeah, thank heavens. Let's keep it that way. But I'll tell you what, the criminal element, the evil element out there, if they go into a society that they know has a high probability of being armed with lethal force, I'm talking guns primarily, they think twice. Okay, statistically proven in concealed carry states. Lots of guns out there. I think I'm going to go on to easier pickings. And so it begins. And that is what birthed the whole concealed carry movement. Doesn't increase crime, it increases public safety. Let's talk about without rule of law and the existence of evil. Without rule of law is when everything gets turned upside down. Life as you know it ends. Why does it end? It could be natural disaster, earthquake, volcano erupting, covering the whole western United States in ash. We've seen that before. I don't know if that led to without rule of law, but it could be a tsunami. All kinds of natural disasters. It could be global economic collapse. The food stores go barren. Fuel supplies stop being delivered. Medical services cease to exist. Police services cease to exist. Now where's evil in that mix? The reason I talked about motivation so much in the first part when I'm talking about ROL, evil, is because it plays perhaps a little bit more in without rule of law, because then you have a lot of people getting desperate. Okay, if you're starving, maybe you're desperate. And I think you'll have more people doing things otherwise they would never do. They would never envision themselves doing, to put food in their mouths maybe. Or maybe worse, maybe there's people, predators, who have been held back by the rule of law, by the sheepdogs, primarily police forces. Because they know police are out there during rule of law, bad guys, predators, rapists, murderers, robbers, they tend to do less of those things because they know they can get caught, jacked up, killed, sent to prison. Without rule of law, it's a free-for-all. Let's go to those neighborhoods where all that cool stuff is, and we'll start getting even. How about this? We rape while we're there. Do a little killing while we're there. Awesome. No cops. Even better. How are you going to answer that situation then? Pacifist? I'm honestly asking you. You don't believe in guns. You don't believe in being armed. You don't believe in the existence of evil. And now you have 5 people approaching your doorstep with machetes. And they see that you have a young daughter. What do you think they're going to do? Why don't you look at human history? War. Modern warfare. There's all kinds of instances of rape and murder, even in World War II. Without rule of law, you're on your own. How's that baseball bat option looking now? Good? Is that going to serve you well? 5 people? Or are you just going to throw your hands up and throw them? Say, you know what? You have your way. I'm not. Forced talks. That's one thing people will always understand. I don't care who the individual is. When I was out on the street that day in Spokane, he looks down at the Glock. Immediately there's a message sent. What was that message? The message was, if you proceed in this course of action, messing with me, you will be harmed. He understood that. I didn't have to say anything more. Have a nice day, sir. Okay? The shop owners during the Rodney King riots back in the early 1990s sent that message with pump shotguns on top of their shops. There's like, you're not burning down our shops. My buddies and I say differently with our Remington 870s. Even better if you have AR-15. Tactical gear, awesome. Protect your shops, protect your property, protect your family in situations without rule of law. You think evil's around during rule of law? Wait till without rule of law. When all these restraints on these types of individuals are removed. And again, some motivations will become more complex. What are your motivations? Well, I'm starving. And I'm willing to kill to put food in my mouth. That's horrible, right? But there's desperations. And again, I kind of say I don't care about motivations because, that family, let's say I'm talking to that one situation, they're dead. Who cares what the motivations are? Let me say this too. Nothing changes in without rule of law either. Remember I said at the beginning of my Spokane story that I will do everything in my power to extricate myself from that situation. I will do that in WROL as well. I'm going to get the heck out of there. My job isn't to be John Wayne, to come out with all my preparations, go, you know what, I got this. I ain't doing that. I'm talking about my family, my situation. I'm going to try to leave. I'm going to try to flee if I can possibly do so and leave. Because the alternatives are worse. The alternatives mean I may have to take a human life, and I don't want to do that. Even against a bad person, I don't want to do that. And I think the huge, vast majority of us TMPers feel the same way. We don't want to do it. Try to get out of there. Try to, de-escalate the situation. Talk your way out of it. There are situations, and without rule of law, that it would be appropriate to present lethal force as a show of force to prevent it going further. Just like I did in that Spokane example. Kind of. It was still in the fanny pack, but kind of. That you send a message. You go, you know what? Please don't proceed on this course. We don't want to do this. The question will inevitably arise. When do I use lethal force in WRL? I don't know. I'm not the expert. For me, myself, how I approach it, I will not use lethal force unless it's presented against me. Oh, and by the way, you guys may go back to the Spokane example. Well, how do you know they had lethal force? Well, both of their hands were in their pockets. Who knows what they have? Knife? The guy's within 3 feet of me. He could break out a blade so quick and stab me, I wouldn't even know what hit me. Well, am I going to clear nylon out of my fanny pack? Maybe. Probably not. I'd already let him get that close, you know. But generally, yeah, lethal force. Shots fired, answer in kind. Blades come out, you know. Firearms, blades come out. It's horrible. And another thing I mentioned earlier is that the alternative is worse. Okay, the family of 5 murdered in Illinois. The alternative of them not having a gun in the house and defending against the intruders that night, it's worse. Whole family's dead. For what? They wanted money? Take your money. You kill the family too? That's pure evil, man. Come on. Come on. People like us here in the Nutnfancy Project, though, we understand evil, we acknowledge its existence for whatever reasons, and we make preparations. Preparations brings peace of mind. Okay, it doesn't mean, again, we're going out and John Wayneing the situation. It just brings peace of mind. It means as I go out my daily life in rule of law situations, I have a Walther PPQ on my side. I've got extra magazine. I have knife and blades. I have non-lethal alternatives like a taser. I'm set. I'm not guaranteed against becoming a victim of violent crime, just like in that Spokane example. You know, there's been a lot of people who were sufficiently armed and they still died. I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but it's a heck of a lot better than not having anything, which the pacifist, the protectionist advocates. You know, I'm 1,000 times more prepared than that and ready to use it. I trained to that level. I'm mentally prepared to use it. I think I exercise good judgment on the applications of lethal force. Heck, non-lethal force. I'm doing my best to avoid confrontation. And here's another mistake you guys make on the protectionist side of the house is you think that the addition of those things to an individual corrupts him. Hey, you have a gun, and because you have a gun, you're evil. What? Again, you guys live in this artificiality that we need to break the haze on. Just because an individual, let's say a lady, she's living alone in an apartment, and she decides to buy herself a .357 Magnum for self-defense. She doesn't want to be a rape victim. She doesn't want to be murdered. There was someone in her apartment complex 2 doors down that happened to them. They were raped, and she's going to take matters into her own hands. I'm talking security of her own individual person, you know, into her own hands. She's exercising personal responsibility. Does that .357 Magnum make that young lady evil, a bad person? Because she has that .357, is she going to go to her nearest liquor store and knock the liquor store off? Well, no, Nutnfancy, that's not going to happen. Well, the way you guys talk, the way the media talks, you always make that sound like that's the case. Guy gets a gun, look out. Look out. You know, when concealed carry started out down in Florida, they're like, oh, gunfights in the streets. Here we go. The Wild West. Worst mistake we can make in society is licensing these people to have guns. Did that ever materialize? Did it ever happen? Nope. An armed society is a polite society. Doesn't happen. Again, there may be a small majority of individuals that do stupid things with their guns. We can't control that. That happens in every population. You cannot control it, nor should you, dictate the laws of everyone on a very small and minute population. Hey, because we had this one problem, we're going to change the laws and make it so nobody can do that or have guns anymore. Stupidity. It's a protectionist mindset. I'm from the government. I'm here to help you. No, armament does not corrupt a person. How about an AR-15? Let's say I got a beta mag, 120 round beta mag and an AR-15. Does that corrupt me, make me evil? No. It's the heart, man. It's the value system of that individual. Tens of thousands, heck, hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of examples of law-abiding, good people. People that are part of the Nutnfancy Project here, having guns and being good people. They're still good fathers, they're still good husbands, they're still great friends. They participate in school, they participate in society. A lot of them are sheepdogs, protecting society. Tens of thousands of them are in the military serving, putting their lives on the line to protect the rule of law. No, it doesn't corrupt them. Now let's talk about government tyranny. Talked about rule of law, talked about without rule of law, how evil will surface in those situations and perhaps move to or really impact your life. Government tyranny. That's a heavy subject, right? Let me tell you this, and I'm talking to this protectionist, pacifist audience again. You may disagree with the Constitution of the United States. Most of us, however, do not. Okay, and again, this isn't paranoia, it's not extremist, it's just realities of our forefathers and what they came from and what they set up in this new government. The United States is relatively a very new country on the globe. It just is. And having seen what they'd seen in England, and having seen all the tyranny that they'd been through, they said, we need to set up a government where we don't go through this again. Because tyranny is never overturned by political means. There has to be a rule of force built into the process. Welcome to the Second Amendment of the Constitution, given to the individual. Not reserve military units, the individual. Why is that? Because these individuals are the safekeepers of freedom. It's fact. Well, that will never happen here in the United States. There's no way we would ever have a tyrannical government. Oh, really? Again, I would suggest you go and study human history, where a government continues to take more power to itself until there is no freedom. We see this happening in Europe all the time. Just a smothering, ever-encroaching, I don't know what other the word, smothering approach to the individual, where they're controlled and manipulated and dominated by the government. Freedom needs defending. It needs to be watched over. It needs to be taken care of. And when it's lost, honestly, I don't know of any other way to restore it other than force. That's another reason people need to be armed in the United States of America. What? Yeah, it does. Is it politically correct? I don't care. It's constitutional, bro. I don't care if it's politically correct. It's your job as an American to overwatch the government. The government doesn't overwatch you. You watch the government. Hey, is it doing what we want it to do? Yeah, kind of. Whoa, it's gotten really bad now. Whoa, holy crap. Roadblocks, searches and seizures, imprisonment of political enemies. Whoa. Will that happen in the United States of America? I certainly hope not. But if it does and freedom is lost, then it just might be the job of people in the country, I'm talking patriots in the country, to take it back. Okay, and with you only have a rifle. What are you going to do with that? You'll be fighting against jet aircraft and tanks. Yeah. With a small team, couple AR-15s, I can take a tank. Hell, I can take a jet and fly that jet. You know what I'm saying? Armored vehicle, yeah. We guard against tyranny. That's part of evil. And I classify it into evil because when you have a government that takes the individual freedoms away from a free man, a free woman, without recourse, that the political process is broken to the extent that there's nothing can be had, you can't affect change politically, then that is an option that should be retained by the free man to fight that evil. The United States of America would not exist had there not been people like that. Historical fact. And I'm going to throw this in right now too. This is very important. I support rule of law. I support the political process. I'm talking about tyranny here, but I'm talking about grievous, irrevocable tyranny that the political process is broken, like I said. We work through the political process. We're active political participants. We're doing everything in our power to prevent that from happening. Because without rule of law, actually, tyranny would maybe be the same thing. It's horrific. You talk about tens, hundreds of thousands of people dying for whatever reason, loss of medical services, murder, all that other stuff. Yeah, we're going to do everything in our power to prevent it. But when things go south and you've traveled a road of protectionist, hey, I never have a gun, I don't believe in it. Why don't you talk about the Jewish people in 1930s? How'd that go for them? That work out well? A whole approach of being unarmed or unarmed? Was it right what happened to the Jewish people in the 30s and 40s? Absolutely not. How do you prevent that? Do you talk your way out of it? Hey, Hitler, you know what? We don't really like how you're classifying us as subhuman and brainwashing everybody that we're subhuman and filling us up into train cars and hauling off and gassing us. We don't really like how that's happening. Is there a way you could stop that? I'm being facetious, of course. Forced talks. And sometimes in man's history, there have to be some hard calls made. And that is that you step up and are willing to be behind that gun, to do the right thing. That there's a value system behind that trigger. A value system. And that's an option to a free man. And I always support that. And you guys watching this video, you better be members of the National Rifle Association. You better be giving money to the NRA, ILA. You better be politically active. Again, to head this off. And of course, there are some radical individuals, perhaps, that will say, well, you know what, we're already broke. We're already to this point. I disagree. We're not there. And I say again, we work through the political process. We support rule of law until it is so shredded and broken that it can't be supported. And I think it will be self-evident when those days come. I'll repeat that. I think it will be self-evident when those days come. Okay? Evil doesn't exist. Oh, really? I submit to you in this video that it very much exists, both in rule of law and especially without rule of law situations, and even, heaven forbid, government tyranny. We prepare. We're not paranoid. We're not bad neighbors because we prepare. We're not naked on a water tower with a 30-06 hoping for the balloon to go up. We're not. We're just living life, going to our jobs, chilling out. And we might just be the one that saves your life because you didn't prepare. Guess whose door you're going to be knocking on in WROL? Mine. Hey, can you protect me? I hear 2 neighborhoods away they're raping and killing people. Yeah, how's those preparations you made? How's that whole life philosophy of there is no evil treating you right now? I said early in the video that sometimes the haze of their artificial approach to life is ripped away from them by their personal experiences. And I know several people personally that this happened to, that they were protectionists. They did not believe in gun ownership. They did not believe in having arms to perhaps take the life of another human being. They didn't believe in it until this one thing happened to them. Maybe it was someone close to them got murdered. Maybe it happened to them personally. They were mugged and they were terrified. They thought they were going to be killed. Maybe they were approached by scary individuals who were intent on doing them harm. And then suddenly, click, switch comes on, light comes on, and they see things the way they really are. Hey, there's some bad people out there. We don't go through the world, by the way, as prepared individuals, looking at everybody with steely eyes. Oh my gosh, what's that guy going to do? Is he going to do that? I don't go through my life that way. I go through my life expecting and hoping for the best from people. Being good to my fellow man. Living the golden rule. Stepping in to aid them, to assist them the way I'd want them to do with me. Being a good citizen, being a good person, being a good husband, a good father. So what if we're prepared? You should be thanking us for being prepared. Don't fear us. Thank us. If you want to continue on in your life philosophy of there is no evil, that you guys are really the evil ones out there, you extremists, you prepared individuals, go ahead. Again, the staunch people like that, I can't change their minds. They're always going to believe that. They're going to politically work, by the way, to strip you of your armaments, you TMPers. They have, and they're very well funded. They're very well organized. They'll continue to do that forever. Politically, fight back. Again, belong to those organizations which have the clout to overturn their political initiatives. I won't convince those people. They're always going to feel that way. The fence sitters I might convince with this video. Maybe. Look in the comments. You're going to see thousands of comments on this video from awesome people, TMPers here in the Nutnfancy project, who have gone through some pretty scary life situations. And they'll tell you in the comments, this happened to me, this is why I'm armed. They're not making that stuff up. That's real. Comments are right there. I have a gun because I believe this. There is evil out there, but because I'm armed, because I'm prepared, to some level, it gives me peace of mind. I don't fear evil. Be prepared. Be good. But don't fear evil because you've made preparations. This is Nutnfancy, another serious life philosophy video. You guys are my friends. Thank you so much for watching. Help get the word out. Fear no evil. See ya.